Hi, and welcome, my curious friends, to Extraordinary Anthropology. If it's okay with you, today I'm going to try something a little different. I'm just going to record this video as if I was in my college classes giving a 15-minute synopsis over a particular topic. I'm a perfectionist, so if I was going to try to edit this video, I would never get uploaded because I'm like, oh, that's not right. This is not right. Oh, horrible. Oh, no. I'm also like every other human. We have a habit of sometimes getting tongue-tied, maybe not particularly saying something perfect. I'm just not going to worry about that. Again, I'm just going to pretend that you're in my class, you're just hanging out with me, and I'm just talking. In classes, though, I often ask people in my students for their opinions and get conversation going. Obviously, I can't do that with you on YouTube, but I would really love to do that. But you can always ask me questions in the chat, and I will do my very best to answer that. If it's okay with you, I'd like to spend some time exploring the shamanic cosmos as it frames how many cultures conceptualize their relationship with the spirit world. A shaman is a spirit specialist who employs altered states of consciousness called ASC to perceive and interact with the spirit realm. Shamanism is one of the most widely studied topics in anthropology, with thousands of articles and books dedicated to its practice and significance. Scholars have long sought to understand why these type of practitioners are found in most indigenous societies, dating back as far as the Upper Paleolithic, about 40,000 years ago. It probably goes back further, but we don't have the archaeological evidence to see it clearly. To fully appreciate shamanism, one must consider the role of spirits within a shamanic worldview. My husband and I suggest that spirits is a being that possesses consciousness, volition, energy, and power. To quote Vivitsky, spirit is more than just consciousness, and because it's capable of causing things to happen in this world, it is a form of power. Much of shaman's work consists of harnessing it. Since the time of Carl Castaneda, Americans have romanticized shamanism. While it's true that some shamans can communicate with animals or weather phenomenon, these gifts are often a double-edged sword. Shamans are typically chosen by the spirits, and their initiation is often marked by profound and sometimes traumatic experiences. There are accounts that when I read them, I'm like, oh, I don't think I'd ever want to be a shaman. That just sounds absolutely horrifically painful. To quote one of my favorite scholars again, Piers Vivitsky, quote, "Many people worldwide tell us that the shaman is chosen by the spirits, and in the central experience of initiation is often symbolically killed by the spirits and reborn. For a prospective shaman, the initial approach by the spirits must be followed by a period of instruction. Illness becomes a means of learning and understanding as the future shaman is introduced to helper spirits, shown around the realm of spirits where he or she will have to operate decisively, warned of possible enemies, and shown the true nature of disease and misfortune to be combated." Similarly, Linda Black, in her discussion of the Noklig people of Russia, noted, quote, "Shamans were divinely elected. It was not a privilege but a burden. One could not become a shaman by study, training, or application. One had to be called. Usually a person became conscious of the fact that he had been called after an exceptional, often traumatic experience. Most often after a severe illness. Once elected to the status which set him apart from the rest of his compatriots, the shaman acquired supernatural helpers." Having engaged deeply with the literature and personally having explored shamanic soul travel, I tend to agree with scholars who suggest that shamans and spirits are so intertwined that it is sometimes difficult to discern the division between human and spirit. Often medicine people will become a bear, or the bear is also human, for example. We also see that humans frequently understand themselves related to, or perhaps fully, a tree or a tree spirit. And so again, these things in the world get intertwined with spirits and shamans. Spirits, like humans, have unique and personalities, and many culture, plants, animals, and natural phenomena are considered sentient beings with whom humans can form relationships, communicate, and even experience harm or healing. Shamans cultivate particularly close connections with these spirit beings, working with them in various ways, from donating bear paws to healing a patient to using pottery for rainmaking. Shamans recognize that different spirits inhabit different realms, often undertaking soul flights to retrieve lost objects, attain a curing song from an ancestor in the underworld, or acquire a prayer from a deity for rain in the upper world. Based on thousands of ethnographic accounts worldwide, this shamanic universe is mainly structured into three realms: the upper world, the middle world, and the underworld. These cosmic zones are interconnected by a central axis, often conceptualized as an axis mundi, a small point, or a world tree, a cosmic mountain, or a pillar. The upper world is often associated with celestial bodies and creator gods. The middle world is the physical world of the here and now, where humans reside. The underworld typically is depicted as an underground realm associated with environmental extremes, gods of death, and potentially malevolent spirits. While variation exists, this tripartite structure appears cross-culturally, reflecting a deeply ingrained conceptualization of the cosmos. For example, among the Akawaio, an American Indian group indigenous to South America, the shamanic universe consists of, and they call it the place in the sky, that is the upper world. It's associated with men's. The colors white and yellow, heat in the daytime, is further divided into the home of the Sun Father and the above world, where souls of the virtuous dead reside. The middle world, or the mundane world, is the domain of humans, plants, and animals. The place under the earth, we call the underworld, is associated with darkness, cold, shadow, night, and women. It is divided into the shallow underworld, a void, and the deep underworld, a realm of spiritual energy and creativity. A similar structure is seen in the Casas Grandes region of northern Mexico during the medieval period, AD 1200 to 1450. I have published a lot on Casas Grandes shamanism alongside my husband, and here's one of our books. Paquime, the largest ceremonial center, was the focal point of spiritual activity, serving as a portal for shamans to access the upper and lower worlds. Through ASC, shamans transformed into macaw-headed figures and communed with supernatural beings. Macaws associated with the sun were linked to women in the upper world, while serpents and nocturnal birds were tied to men in the underworld. The concept of the Axis Mundi, a central point or pole, tree, or mountain connecting the cosmic zone, is pervasive across shamanic traditions. Among the Yucatec Maya, the Seb tree symbolizes the connection with its roots in the underworld and branches in the heavens. Shamans use the Axis Mundi to ascend or descend through the worlds. In some culture, caves serve as underworld portals, while mountain peaks provide access to celestial beings. The Hopi of Arizona recognize Sipapu as an opening in the Grand Canyon as an ancestral immersion point, while the Omaha of the U.S. Midwest align their rituals with poles with Polaris, the North Star, symbolizing the cosmic axis. In many shamanic cultures, landscapes in the mundane world are viewed as sentient. If I were a practicing shaman, which I am not, I might suggest in this image that the rock outcrops are beings, each with unique names, social roles, and stories. Outcrops on mountaintops might facilitate communication with celestial beings, while those in the valley might connect with the underworld. Home. The mountains I grew up in south central New Mexico is often considered an example of a cosmic mountain. Worldwide, shamans recognize mountains as being special places, and the late cultural anthropologist and member of the Oke-Wenge Pueblo, Alfonso Ortiz, notes that many Native Americans would not fight on mountains because they were sacred places where the richly prepared went to communicate with beings in the other realms. Not only do people acknowledge mountains as sacred places to communicate with the spirit world, but they also created mountains as sentient beings that communicated to the cosmic realm. So things like pyramids in the New World are a sentient being in and of themselves. In the case of the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, archaeologists have found deep under it a passageway to a cave. And just like many mountains that have caves in them, so do the pyramids underneath them. So they become portals between the upper realm and the lower realm as well. Similarly, homes and built spaces are often considered alive. L.C. Clues Parson documented this belief among southwestern Native Americans that houses are sentient. This is not a pueblo, this is just a picture I had created from AI. Shamans are aware of these living spaces, perform rituals to honor and cleanse them, ensuring harmony between inhabitants and their surroundings. Over a decade ago, I kept seeing this post on Facebook, and I thought to myself, every time I saw it, this seems to have some shamanic sensibility. Perhaps when we look up into the sky, it's really a place where our loved ones are beaming down and looking at us. This is absolutely realistic because if you think about the upper world and the middle world as places like mountains and pyramids, if you were to go all the way through the earth on the bottom side, you would pop out to the night sky. So sometimes the underworld can also be full of a night sky too, and ancestors looking down on us as well. The shamanic cosmos is complex, multi-layer framework that varies across cultures yet retain fundamental similarities. Whether the cosmology of the Akawaio, the shamanic practices of the Casas Grandes, or the global concepts of the Axis Mundi, shamans act as intermediaries between worlds, maintaining balance through their unique spirit roles. By exploring these traditions, we gain insight into how diverse cultures perceive the unseen forces that shape their existence. Thank you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat. Thank you.